Be nice. This live is not about me. This live, really quickly, to give you just a quick backstory, and then I'll let my mom and my Mimi take it. My brother, which I don't really speak about because people are cruel, is mentally ill, and there are some things that my mom and my grandma would like to talk about in regards to that. Well, basically, about, 6 months ago?
Oh, you mean when she, girl, yeah, it's February, it was March.
So back in March, Brandy Norwood encouraged my brother, who is a recovered addict, and now diagnosed bipolar and essentially schizophrenic, to not only come off his medication, but to begin again the consumption of marijuana and alcohol, I believe. Okay, well, alcohol. And ever since then, it's been a really crazy roller coaster for the family, from physical violence to just emotional instability to fear of his safety and the safety of all of those that he encounters. And as it progressively gets worse, he is arrested for things such as, the most recent was walking on the freeway, and then he was released by authorities. And because it's not a criminal act, and because he was walking alongside the freeway and not on the actual freeway, they decided that he was not suicidal. And then he was released and then picked up again for the same offense, for lack of a better term, which is walking alongside the freeway, not walking on the freeway. And then I guess you're deemed competent when what, Mimi? You can answer 5 questions, which are,
And you just, do you know who the president is? Do you know where you are? Do you know what day it is? Do you know what time it is? And do you know the date?
so when somebody answers those 5 questions, the system deems them competent and will release them.
Unless it's a crime.
Right, unless there's been a crime committed. And so they did not hold him, they let him go. And most recently, the family has received a video of him walking totally nude through our neighborhood. And the sightings, once we're alerted to the sightings, he's long gone. So yes, they did a 72-hour hold, and then they released him after the 72 hours because he's 28 years old.
Before it was over.
Before the 72-hour hold was up, they released him. And they held him for more than 72 hours. They released him before the 14-day hold.
Correct.
So their reasoning was, he answered the 5 questions, and he hasn't said things like, I'm going to kill myself, or I'm going to kill you. So then he's deemed nonviolent. And then he's released. So the goal here is, 1, to help me find my brother. If anyone, I've posted him again. I've posted him previously, and recently my mom released a statement on her Instagram. And so if anyone who's in the Woodland Hills, Calabasas area sees him, just
or anywhere in the city.
Anywhere in the city, really. Just alert one of the family members. And secondly, I'll let Mimi take it from here, because she has a different agenda. My agenda and my mom's agenda and my dad's agenda is simply, if you see him, he's not a criminal. Don't apprehend him. We just want the system to do a little bit more, because he's mentally ill. So the goal, we're hoping, is that if he's apprehended, they don't use deadly force. They don't just release him because he can trick you into believing that he's not mentally ill by answering these 5 questions and forcing him into some type of treatment. In a pretty much a last-ditch effort to help him get better. So my Mimi here, which you guys have all seen on my Instagram, is a psychiatric nurse, and she's got a little more professional insight to how these things work. What? What'd she say?
She's just saying she has some other stuff she needs to say. No, she's
I said okay.
Yeah. No, you're fine. She's
Oh.
I know I'm good.
So Mimi is going to give you guys whatever it is she has to say. I don't know what she has to say. But Mimi knows what she has to say. They're
PetTeaBlog.com.
looking at you.
Oh, okay. Hi, I am DJ's grandmother. In addition, and Moniece, and Drew.
I mean, obviously, she's my brother's grandmother.
Right.
She's my grandmother.
In addition to that, a certified psychiatric professional. I am pleading and hoping that this will fall in the hands of someone that can make a difference. We are dealing with a system right now that has failed 3 times. The first time he went to Silver Lake Hospital and he was detained involuntarily. The goal was to stabilize him on medication. After the 72-hour hold, the 14-day hold took place, and they released him because he stated he did not want medication. Well, this is what most people that are psychotic, this is what they all say. Once they're on medication, they no longer want to be on it. That's the first failure. Then the second failure, he was arrested for peeing on the street and released, but now he's in the criminal system. He is not a criminal. So the third time, Moniece explained to you that he was arrested for walking alongside the freeway. He was on the freeway, but because he was not walking in the middle of the lanes of the freeway, he was deemed not a danger to self. So we get a call and on a Friday night, and so he was released the next day despite the fact that the psychiatrist tried to intervene, and he was assessed by a highway patrol person who is not trained to make those kind of assessments based on the 5 questions Moniece gave you, and not the mental status exam that is supposed to be used to determine whether or not a person is mentally ill. I am begging someone to get this to the right person, because the next call we get is going to involve one of 2 things. They're going to say the system failed again because they released him because he's not mentally ill, or by some fate he's dead. He has been on the street 7 days at this particular time with no food, no communication, no money, and all of these things exist, and it can only come to that last thing that I just gave you, either death or another failed system. I'm begging if somebody can get this to the criminal justice system or somebody, so that this can stop and he can get the right disposition into a mental health facility where he can be detained and stabilized on medication. I thank you for your listening and for your consideration. Thank you so much.
So I see a lot of questions from people who either joined late or were not paying attention. So let me break it down for you. BRANDY Norwood is not dating my brother. Brandy Norwood is not currently with my brother. This is not really about Brandy Norwood. This is about the fact that since Brandy Norwood convinced him to come off his medications, there has been a downward spiral in his mental health condition.
Which, by the way, he
Which
was
is-
blind for 2.5 years before that moment.
Before Brandy convinced him not to take the medicine, he had been on the medication for over 2 years. My brother came home from college for Christmas break in 2015 and was then diagnosed with schizophrenia
Bipolar mania.
and bipolar mania,
Schizoaffective.
schizoaffective disorder. Would you like to say this?
No, because
You're going to confuse people, so you tell me what the...
I'm just giving you the details.
Okay. So he came home from college for Christmas break in 2015 from college and was diagnosed with bipolar mania and schizoaffective. He was taking his medication, and you guys asked how he's associated with Brandy. The Norwood family and my family have been very good friends for the past 15 years, since I was 15 and I'm now 30. And she knew what he struggled with from past his addiction, as my mom had confided in her about that prior to. And she knew about the mental health issues he was suffering with. And privately, she convinced him not to take the meds. She convinced him that a little wine here and there would be okay. And so that then triggered, the emotional downward spiral, which led to a physical assault on both of my parents. Then that led to him leaving the house. Then that led to just the police then being involved. And that then led to him coming back home, me actually taking him off the street, convincing him to go back on the medication, helping him get a job, and then he decided to stop taking the medication. So when you guys say, what about an involuntary hold or just make him take the medication, he's 28. That means he's protected by what, HIPAA? So if he were to receive treatment, for instance, when he was arrested and then taken to the psych ward, he's 28 years old. So his treatment plans, what treatment he is or isn't receiving, can't be released to the family because he's 28 years old. He's no longer a minor. Him being 28 also means he does not have to take the medication if he doesn't want to. And so what the whole purpose of this live is that basically he was arrested and the system failed in terms of the fact that he is obviously mentally ill. He's not being picked up for crimes. He's being picked up more or less for suicidal behavior. And not everyone that becomes suicidal is mentally ill. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you speak to him, he clearly is not in his right mind. He's hearing voices. He's talking to himself. He says, when he was arrested, here's an example, and they ask him the 5 questions. You answer these 5 questions correctly, and the system deems you competent or not mentally ill. And the questions are, who is the president? What is the date?
Do you know where you are?
Do you know where you are? What is your name? And what is your birthday? You answer those 5 questions, they let you go. So they're letting this man go, who they clearly know is not right. And he then becomes not only a danger to himself, he becomes a danger to other people. So I will post this picture. You guys are asking for a picture. And if you see him anywhere in the Los Angeles area, don't try to apprehend him. Just either call authorities, because the goal here is we want him to be picked up and we want him to be properly medicated. What we don't want is, like this last stunt, walking around nude. What we don't want is for law enforcement to use deadly force or to apprehend him and then let him go. So,
And can I say one thing? I just have to say this because everybody was, for those of you who are haters, I don't care that you're hating. You're going to hate no matter what. My outrage, okay?
Yeah.
my outrage and the reason I said what I said on social media is because the details and conversations that I had with Brandy about the deadly effect of D coming off of this medication was so clear and so direct for months. And it was in her conversations with David and I that she was insistent. He doesn't want to take those meds. He doesn't like the way it makes him feel. I said, fall back. This is our family. He's in our community. He's a recovered addict. If you go here, I said, what you think you don't understand could cost my husband and I our lives. And at this point, not only has it come close to doing that, it's definitely on the brink of costing my son his life. So all I'm saying to you is mental illness is nothing to play with. It's super serious. And this young man is connected to people who love him, as is Moniece, as are all my children. And I'm going to go to the mat, and I'm going to fight super hard. So it's not about his age. It's about that someone came in with an intent, despite being told this is not how this is going to go down. This was predicted because the medication was essential. Now we're in that place. And what has been lost is my son. Period. End of story.
My plea for the here and now is that we don't get a call about death because the system failed. My grandson's life is at stake at this point after 7 days of no subsistence. That cannot go on forever. And we have no way of intervening without the system making the proper disposition. Please help.
Well, that concludes this live. So today, I won't be posting about the show. I won't be talking about the show. I'll be using my platform and happily blocking anyone who's ignorant. I'll post his picture here shortly. I'll post his name. And we will, his social media, I'm not going to post that because it's irrelevant. He doesn't have a phone. He doesn't have access to any technology. And I'll post his picture. And yeah, anyone who sees him, call the authorities, DM me, DM my mom, DM my dad, DM my grandmother, and we'll do what we can. I see a lot of people saying, they saw the video on Twitter. Why don't we just go pick him up? Well, by the time we get these videos, people think it's funny. So that video was taken and posted 2 days ago, and we just saw it today. We just received it today. So by the time we get these hints, or these sightings, he's long gone and we don't know where he is. So to give you an idea of how quickly he's moving, we reside in Woodland Hills, which is the San Fernando Valley, and he walked on foot from here to Malibu. And that is how many miles in a car?
It's about 35 miles the round trip.
He walked from Malibu downtown.
Right, so he walked from what? From here to Malibu is how many miles?
About 16.
So he walked 16 miles to Malibu to walk on the freeway, and then from Malibu to downtown Los Angeles, which is what?
22 to 25 miles.
Which is roughly 25 miles on foot. I failed math twice. So what's 16 plus 35?
16 plus 35.
16 plus 25 is what?
41, 51.
It's a lot of miles. So he basically walked all of that way on foot.
And when we got the call Saturday that he had been released, we got the call after 11. He had been released at 10:14.
We got footage.
And we were in the process, his psychiatrist was in the process of intervening, and they called us an hour after he had been released with bus tokens. That's why we have not been able to.
41 miles. So that gives you an idea of how quickly he's moving and on foot. 41 miles. And so by the time anyone alerts us, you know, just like my grandma said, he was arrested for walking on the freeway downtown, and he gets released and no one calls us until after he's been released. Well, by that time, he had been given bus fare from the jail, made it all the way from downtown on the bus back to the city of Woodland Hills where we live, myself and my parents, and then was videoed crossing the street, totally nude at somewhere between 7:15 and 7:45 p.m. Someone decided to post that on Twitter, and 2 days later, that was the 7th of October. This is the 9th of October, and we're just now finding out about the video.
Which we know what the outcome of that will be. He'll be arrested because of a criminal act.
He was arrested, and he was $500 bail. I just left the police station.
And
So
now,
he's in jail now.
No, they let him out.
yes, one more failed time. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I just left jail. I just left the Topanga police station as we speak.
So now he's out again.
He's been out. So now no one has seen him. There's been no contact from my son, from no sightings, no anything since Saturday. So since the 7th. So whoever posted that video didn't post it. It's not in time. So he was booked up.
Well, whoever posted the video posted it in real time. For sure.
Yeah.
We're just now finding out about it 2 days. That video was posted when, AD?
The 7th.
The 7th at what time? What's the girl?
In the evening.
7:15
Okay, so then that must
PM.
mean that he got
He got out of jail Saturday morning,
at
took
10:14.
the bus tokens,
Right.
made it back to the valley, or walked because that sighting wasn't
Yeah.
until 7:15 in the
He had
evening.
bus tokens.
Yeah, he came on the bus.
Either way,
Because I drove the freeways to see. There was no one walking. And that's the only way he said he knew how to go get to her home, is to walk.
But I checked to see it. He had bus tokens.
well,
So, anyway, like I said, those people who are going to be cruel, fuck you anyway. I don't care. This is about people. Don't say stop it. These are about people right now. This is a desperate plea, as you see. So we're a family in crisis.
somebody said he's downtown. How do we know that?
He was downtown at one point.
Today? Did they hold him at Topanga?
Yeah, they held him downtown. He was downtown.
Oh,
That
He was at the 77th precinct.
That was Saturday.
That was Saturday.
oh.
And he was released. He was arrested. I got a call from Highway Patrol at 11 something at night on Friday, and we followed through with the psychiatrist and tried to get him evaluated so we could transport him to the hospital. By the time we started that process, he was booked out. 10:14 in the morning, gone. Haven't seen him since or heard anything from him since. So that's just the bottom line. So, I mean, I can't control what's going on at this point. My heart is broken, as it would be if it were anybody that I loved that was in this kind of pain. And that's the real thing. I'm suffering beyond suffering because my child is suffering. He's not well. That's not fun for him. So it's not my own pain. It's the pain that he's in based on the fact that he's
I follow my own brother on Instagram. I don't need anyone to check his Instagram. He doesn't have a phone. And why don't we go searching? We search all the time. So,
Let me just put it to you this way. You have to know that if Moniece is on her social media, and forget about me, it has become critical. We appreciate the simple steps. I'm not here because like I told the people at the police station, I just walked at the police station and I said, I can't take this anymore. You're telling me go back to the mental health system. I've done that. So I tell you what, since it's so fucking inconvenient for everybody, just tell me to wait. What more do I need to go to? What corner do I need to call? Or maybe it's more convenient for you to just drop his dead body off at my door because we're all too busy to deal with it. Bottom line, the system has failed. We are a family with means. We're not rich, but we have more means than a lot. We are a family that's educated. You have my mother here who's this is her life profession. And I'm hurt because I'm thinking to myself, if I'm crying over my son, what about somebody else who's suffering that doesn't even have the resources we have? This is a problem that has to be fixed. And I'm gonna tell you what, if my son
a way to fix it. And that's for another conversation. But for now, the goal is for somebody to help us right now so we don't get the call that he's dead. Because how long can you go without food, money, and substance? It won't work.
Welcome. Well, that's it for now, guys. I will not be, like I said, posting anything on social media today other than sharing his picture, and there's no need to tag his social media. He does not have a phone right now. And any sightings that you guys find, I will post the social media that you need to DM or whatever if you do spot him. All right, thank you.